Hello, this is Nikki.
This is Lillian.
This is Eric.
This is Sarah.
This is Carla.
We are doing differentiation strategies for level 3 students, which is chapter 5 of our book.
All right, so open up and join along.
All right, so the goal of this chapter of English language learner differentiation is to empower students to express their understanding of content without having yet fully developed language mastery. Students at level 3 have an understanding of social language, but are still developing academic language. It is recommended that students in this level have sensory support to construct meaning from more detailed and complex discourse. So some overview of listening, speaking, reading, and writing domains of level 3 differentiation. As we mentioned, students in level 3 need sensory support to construct meaning. As for reading, students continue making sense of simple text and derive meaning from increasingly complex writing. Accessing and building student background related to experiences is essential. Knowledge on social, academic, and biographical knowledge, or background, can guide teachers on how to best choose appropriate differentiated instruction. As for writing, students can write with increasingly complex mastery on subjects, since writing development mirrors speaking development. Level 3s are still prone to errors that obstruct meaning, but vocab and sentence structure mastery is gaining sophistication. I believe that was all for those. In considering the variation that often occurs in student backgrounds of EL students, level 3 EL students, not all ELs, level 3s, have the same background as other students with similar skills. So for instance, some level 3 ELs may have formal education, others may have no grasp of English at all, academic English or academic learning, period. Yet they may have perfect or sounding perfect social English developed. So some examples that were provided to us in the text on page 164 of level 3 students are the students named Toa and the student and Ong. Toa typifies the typical level 3 student with perfect attendance and solid social English, but they still have below average academic performance. This student had very good academic learning in their home country. Ong, on the other hand, is an example of a level 3 student with promising academic performance, solid English skills broadly, yet they have spotty attendance and they are at risk of dropping out if they are not given specific and sustained differentiated instruction.
Okay, for instructional strategies, it's important for teachers to remember that all of the education, we're teaching the same content to EL learners, and we need to maintain high quality, rigorous curriculum, but we also need to be sensitive to their cultural and linguistic needs, which is basically geared towards helping our students progress towards grade level reading proficiency and giving them the necessary supports. One of the considerations that need to be made is if the student is actually pre-literate in their first language. And if so, they need to practice reading skills. Pre-reading is helpful, and it's basically to help them develop the skills to gain meaning from print and become independent learners. Also, if the content material for the classroom is beyond their grade level reading, we do still teach to the standard, but we can incorporate the materials to help match their reading levels so they can gain content mastery as opposed to language mastery. Next, for strategies to consider for writing, Students need to be given ample opportunities to produce extended writing samples. That's how they are going to practice their skills. We'll provide visual supports to help them understand the writing in context and to make meaningful situations with the use of those supports. They'll start out with more basic sentences and increase to complex sentences while incorporating academic vocabulary. And while we're assessing writing, it isn't to make comparisons to their peers that are at grade level, which may produce longer, more complicated writing pieces, but that actually we're looking for shorter content-based expressions rather than for correctness and length. And for listening strategies, teachers need to consider maintaining complex oral input, which means to keep up the academic language in the delivery and modeling and scaffolding the vocabulary terms and the sentence structures so students can understand how complex and academic language is used, but teachers can go ahead and paraphrase as needed so students can have clarification and comprehension for the meaning that's being used in the context while they're listening. Also, processing time is an important consideration for students, that teachers give them ample time to not only intake the input and process it cognitively, but time to articulate their thoughts and give an academic response.
All right, now for speaking. As you see here in the first part, it says provide opportunities to produce extended oral discourse through activities. And what that means is it's really important to have motivating activities, for example, reporting and presentations that are culturally relevant to students' lives. And by having an activity such as reporting, you could have students research things that they're actually interested in and give oral presentations on that, which would be exciting for them to practice extended oral discourse. For number 2, you see here prompt and scaffold extended oral language production by providing visually supported sentence level frames and models for high quality academic discourse. And what that means is it's important to model academic sentence frames and really ask for more than just one word answers. So whenever you're asking students to give you answers for an exit slip or for a graphic organizer, really making sure that your questions have framed themselves to be more complex than one word answers is very important. Number 3, we have concentrate on students' meaning to the greater extent rather than on the correctness of the expression. So level 3s really prefer to stick to pre-identified aspects rather than having you focus on detailed corrections. So whenever you're providing feedback, making sure that you're referencing something that you've been over in the past, rather than just being nitpicky, and the feedback is going to be really important.
All right, so some examples that we can use to scaffold the learning that for our ELL students in level 3 they're meant to model and give some explanations that are a little bit more simplified and assisted so that they can understand everything. So some examples include having instructions that use academic language but are also able to use simple and varying sentence types to explain your sentences and your explanations. Also using model assignments, and that could be through plot charts and maybe Venn diagrams, maybe T-charts, just different visual ways to organize the data so that it could make more sense to the students. You can also demonstrate using think aloud strategies, and what this is modeling cognitive thinking that the teacher is doing. And if we do this enough, then the students can start picking up those cognitive strategies in their own thinking, and that's a really great way to model
May I have your attention,
teaching
please?
as well.
The time is 8:30. The line.
Another tool that us as teachers can use to scaffold our learning for ELLs in level 3 are photos of processes. So this is visual representations of what is expected from them in an assignment. We can also do pre-taught vocabulary, so we can kind of pre-read some text and assume what misconceptions could be in the reading, and maybe some words that might be a little bit difficult or too academic for their social understanding of the language thus far. And we can pre-teach this vocabulary so that our students are prepared prior to our readings. We can also do think aloud paragraph writing, in which we model our paragraphs. So we have a model paragraph that we think through and talk about with our students so that they can see the cognitive process that was used to write this paragraph. Along with this, we can do academic sentence frames, posted in a classroom so that students have visual aids and can refer to these sentence frames when they are prompted to write on their own. This can help cement the academic words and academic phrases into their mind so that they can write academically. Pictorially supported procedure text. This just means that we are supporting visual aids, and whether it be through photos, through models, through hands-on activities that can support the procedures and the text so that understanding can be more concrete. We can also give level appropriate feedback. So anytime that they write to something or read something, we can give them feedback, let them know how they're doing, how they can do better. So it's just a really good tool that we can give our ELL students in level 3.
Okay, so in order to provide appropriate assignment and assessments for students at this level, teachers should create innovative assessments that allow students to show teachers what they know without having language mastery yet. So in other words, teachers should use a lot of visual supports, and directions should be provided orally. And it's also important to remember that teachers should differentiate their grading by ELP level. So students at level 3, teachers should allow them to receive support from the ELL specialist in both assignments and assessments as needed. This level 3, students can also access the same content, vocabulary, and academic language as English-only students, but scaffolding is necessary. So sentence starters or sentence frames, as well as word banks, really help. As far as reading, even within the spectrum of level 3, the students would be at either a lower end or a higher end. So we need to keep that, like educators need to keep that in mind when they're providing texts for the students. So there should be, the student entering level 3 is comprehending at a different level than the advanced level 3. So teachers should be able to assess orally and still maintain high expectations, but allow them to demonstrate what they have learned through the reading, what they comprehended in various ways. For writing, the big thing for this level is providing sentence frames, because like I said, they can access a lot of the same academic language, but there should be some scaffolding there, and the sentence frames help them get started. And again, the teacher should not be assessing, like if a prompt is provided, it should be clear, and we should be assessing they should be demonstrating their content knowledge, not exclusively like the way they're using the language. We should be expecting our students to be able to produce the academic language when we are talking to them. So listening and speaking is big in this level. But even when assessing orally, we should use specific content, vocabulary, and complex grammatical structures for students.
All right, so the following are some sentence frame examples, as well as some graphical organizers that we talked about previously. So it's showing how to use academic language, as well as how to organize our data using Venn diagram in this case and T-charts. Over here we have an example that I did in my own classroom personally, and it just helps if you want to pause it and you can take a look at how it uses different strategies like modeling and think aloud paragraph structure and academic language.
All right, question 1. What tools have you employed that harness sensory capabilities and or knowledge students already have? Question 2, which scaffolding strategies mentioned in this lesson have you employed and which have you had the most success with? Why do you think that's the case?